All right, today we are diving into a huge tectonic shift happening in Taiwan's digital asset world. What was once a total Wild West is now really turning into a new financial frontier. And the numbers behind this whole thing, they're absolutely staggering. Get a load of this number, $203.5 billion. That's the trading volume just from Taiwanese crypto users in 2024. I mean, that points to a massive, super engaged market, right? But here's the big question. Where is all that money actually going? And this is where it gets kind of weird. Even with all that local excitement, a stunning 57% of that cash is flowing into unregulated exchanges offshore. Only about 16% is staying on platforms in Taiwan. Now, that's not just a statistic. That's a huge outflow of capital, and honestly, a massive exposure to risk. And believe me, that risk is very, very real. I mean, when the crypto exchange FTX completely collapsed, Taiwan was the fifth largest affected region in the entire world. That event was a painful wake-up call. It screamed that there's an urgent need for a safer, regulated system right here at home, one that can protect investors and keep all that capital from just flying away. So you might be thinking this is just a local issue, but it's not. All around the globe, major economies are already building out clear rules for digital assets. And that puts a ton of pressure on Taiwan to keep up, or, risk getting left behind in this new financial world. Just look at how fast things are changing. Back in 2023, the EU rolled out its big MiCA framework. By 2024, Hong Kong was already licensing asset providers. And in 2025, the US passed its Genius Act for stablecoins. A global standard is definitely taking shape, and that window to get on board is closing. And this quote from Blockstream's CIO, Sean Bill, it just perfectly captures this new way of thinking. For serious institutional investors, the conversation has totally shifted. It's no longer a question of if they should invest in digital assets, it's now about how much they should put in. Having zero exposure is just not seen as the smart default choice anymore. So with all this going on, who's actually stepping up to build a safer system in Taiwan? Well, the answer is the big guns, the established titans of Taiwan's own financial industry. After years of just watching from the sidelines, they're finally getting into the game. And this wasn't an overnight decision. This has been a really deliberate, long-term play. It actually started way back in 2018 with R&D teams. By 2022, we saw them put it into practice with things like the Insurance Alliance blockchain. Then in 2023, Cathay Securities issued Taiwan's very first security token offering, or STO. And it all led to this year, 2024, and the creation of this major task force to build a regulated home for tokenized real-world assets. Okay, so what does this new vision for finance actually look like? Well, these institutions are building a blueprint, and it's based on three absolutely essential pillars. First, rebuilding trust. Second, unlocking new value. And third, creating efficient flow. Look, let's just be direct here. The shadow of FTX is huge. It's the elephant in the room. So the first and, frankly, the most important question we have to answer is simple. How on earth can we possibly rebuild trust in this whole ecosystem? The foundation of trust, it all starts right here, with something called regulated custody. Basically, it means your digital assets aren't held by some random anonymous offshore company. Instead, they're safeguarded by a trusted, regulated financial institution, like a bank you actually know. Your assets are kept totally separate, they're secure, and it's all under strict legal rules. That's what prevents another FTX-style disaster. Okay, so once you have that trust, the next step is to create brand new value. And this is where real-world asset, or RWA, tokenization comes in. I know, it sounds super technical, but it's a revolutionary idea. It's all about taking traditional assets, things like corporate bonds or investment funds, and bringing them onto the blockchain. The process itself is surprisingly simple. You just start with a real-world asset. Then a digital token is created that basically represents a tiny piece of ownership in that asset. And here's the cool part. That token can then be traded on a blockchain, 24/7, anywhere in the world, with trades settling almost instantly. This just blows the doors open on global markets and creates liquidity like we've never seen before. And I love this analogy from Professor Minghua Xia. He compares it to the teleporter from Star Trek. Tokenization doesn't physically move the asset itself, but it lets its value get beamed instantly, anywhere on the planet. It just fundamentally changes how we think about what ownership and trade even mean. Now, for all of this to work, for that value to get teleported around seamlessly, you need a stable and reliable digital currency for all the payments and settlements. And that's the third pillar, creating efficient flow with stablecoins, which are basically digital currencies designed to hold a steady value. It's really important to get the two main types they're working on. On one hand, you've got stablecoins issued by private companies, backed by reserves like cash. These are great for day-to-day trading. But on the other hand, you have deposit tokens, which are issued directly by banks. Think of it like a digital version of the money in your bank account, which makes them perfect for settling huge financial transactions on the blockchain. So we've got this blueprint of trust, value, and flow. It's clear, and the titans of finance are already building it out. So this brings us to the crucial question: what does the path forward actually look like from here? Well, a really critical choice is the technology itself because, not all blockchains are created equal. You have public chains like Bitcoin, which are totally open for anyone to join. Then you have these private consortium chains, which are built for specific business groups, like that insurance alliance we mentioned. And now a kind of hybrid model is emerging, the permissioned public chain. This is where trusted institutions run the network, but the public can still use it, a model that could be absolutely ideal for regulated finance.
And this is where the vision gets really, really exciting. As Hu Ming An from Blocktender points out, the first big step was just about moving old financial stuff onto the blockchain. But the real revolution, the next wave, is going to be about creating entirely new financial products that could only exist on-chain.
And that brings us right to our final question. The groundwork for a safer, more innovative financial future is being laid as we speak by these trusted institutions. The technology is here, the global momentum is undeniable. So is Taiwan ready to seize this moment and build its future on this new financial frontier?